security.
Joining us now is Democratic Congresswoman Debbie Dingell of Michigan, who attended that briefing. Congressman, good to see you. Congresswoman, thank you for being with us. You tweeted this morning, if there was one takeaway from this meeting, it is that Russia will once again try to interfere in our elections. You get some satisfaction from the people who are testifying that enough is being done, or at least we're well down the road of a good direction to prevent anything bad happening in the next election?
You know, I want to be careful because it was a classified briefing. Sure. But I don't think that anybody could walk out of that room. And we heard from the Director of Homeland Security, or the Secretary of Homeland Security. We heard from the Director of the FBI about very serious threats of foreign governments trying to interfere in our election system. And nobody could walk out of there feeling great about what people are trying to do. And I think this needs to be nonpartisan. I think the election, the foundation of our democracy is a free and open election. And they were very clear that they were looking at the processes, not the content. It was a very broad conversation about what's happening. But I'm worried. I don't see how you could walk out of there and not be worried. And I think we need to make sure that each of our states has what they need to ensure that we have a safe and secure infrastructure, which is what our bill would do. And I think we may, if we have to. I haven't asked leadership. I think if we have to, we take out these individual pieces and make sure that they get through. We need to make sure. I think we need to have paper ballots. I introduced that last Congress, and this bill would do that. So how do you make sure that if you voted, your vote is being counted accurately if there's an audit or a recount? And how do we make sure that we are protecting ourselves from cybersecurity threats? This was all talked about yesterday, disturbing, and something we all have to worry about.
So what can you do about it? The bipartisan effort that was put forward, Mitch McConnell blocked.
Well, I hope the American people are listening, because I believe that every member of Congress, House and Senate, listens to people back in their district. H.R. 8 was a big bill. I think there are pieces that can be brought out of it. I hope that we will do things like have a paper ballot so that they can be counted. I hope that we can all agree that we need to make sure the resources there are to protect us from a cybersecurity viewpoint. I never give up. I'm one of those eternal optimists. I hope that there are pieces. I'm hoping that people who listened to that briefing yesterday are worried about how are all of us protecting ourselves.
Yesterday, Homeland Security Chairman Benny Thompson said that some of the details presented by officials were unclear. Let's listen to what he had to say.
Well, there's real interest on the part of members of Congress to know who's in charge, what are the operating procedures for the process to go forward, and the answers were not as clear as they needed to be.
I guess the question is, a lot of experts who talk to us say that it's not just a matter of resources, but it has to have this feeling of a whole government effort. And there are some who say the president himself does not sign on to this thing. And if the president himself is not fully signed on to this idea, will the Trump administration employ the resources they need, never mind whether they have them, to secure the next election?
I think that that's a fair question, and one that I'm worried about. I think the FBI, who has men and women who just care about this country, are patriotic, trying to keep us safe, find themselves in the middle of political turmoil way too often. I've known Dan Coats for a long time, and I think he is someone who's trying to keep our nation safe, cares about our national security, and he finds himself in the eye of a storm way too often. That's why I don't understand why we can't agree to something as basic as a paper ballot, so that we know if someone's voted, that there is a trail that can be audited, and that every vote matters, and that no one has rigged the system.
Then why wouldn't you? If it's something as basic as a paper ballot, and on June 27th, the House passed that $600 million election security bill to strengthen voting systems, why can't you get it? Why can't, and I know not you, but why can't it happen? Why wouldn't it pass in a bipartisan way? What's the argument against it?
Well, I'm not hearing the arguments against it in the House. We have to ask Senator McConnell that because he's the one that could schedule that for a vote. Hopefully, maybe we'll just get a bill, a little portion of that bill that says there should be a paper ballot so that someone challenges it, or if there's reason to be concerned, there can be an audit, there can be a recount that we know is an honest and valid recount.
Congresswoman Debbie Dingell, good to talk to you. Thank you for joining.